Before we start, a note that this story includes mentions of suicide and self-harm. Listener discretion is advised. It's 3 a.m. You feel overwhelmed and emotionally drained. It's already been a stressful week, and there's still so much that needs to get done. You keep tossing and turning, so you open an app that asks, "How are you feeling tonight?" You respond, and within seconds, an AI chatbot begins to respond, gently, patiently. It's a scene that's becoming more common as artificial intelligence pushes into one of our most intimate and vulnerable spaces, therapy. But as technology steps into this role, it raises some bigger questions. How did we get here, and should we really be turning to machines for comfort?
I think AI therapy or AI models, they didn't come out of a vacuum. And in my view, they are the result or the product or byproduct of bad or ineffective therapists. So I think patients want results when they see a therapist. And all too often today, therapists will just validate someone and be a good sounding board, but they're not really pushing people or directing people in the way that I think patients benefit most. So what I've seen with AI, they're very directive or will provide instructions, do A, B, and C, or have you thought about A, B, and C?
That's Jonathan Alpert, psychotherapist and author of the upcoming book Therapy Nation. Along with its direct communication style, Alpert says patients are drawn to these platforms because they're far more accessible and cost-effective than traditional therapy.
It's not a replacement for an actual human therapist, but it does provide emotional support for people, and it will give the user feedback. It may offer emotional support, encouragement, but I have to be clear, it's not a replacement for a therapist. It certainly has its shortcomings. But for some people, there's a benefit to it, 24/7 access. Usually it's free or inexpensive. So it's there when you need it, and you can't always say that about a real, actual human therapist.
Though far from a replacement for traditional therapy, these AI chatbots and apps have quickly become popular with children and teens.
According to Common Sense Media, in June 2025, 3/4 of young people have an emotional support companion chatbot. 3/4. And 1/3 of those people would rather talk about their emotional needs with a chatbot than any human being. So the informal sphere is taking off like we've never seen any technology take off before.
That's Jody Halpern, a professor of bioethics and tech ethics at the University of California, Berkeley. Right now, most of the talk around AI therapy focuses on casual use, with many experts warning against it. However, Halpern says researchers and mental health professionals are finding promising results when it comes to this type of therapy in more formal clinical settings.
In the formal mental health sphere of professional psychologists and psychiatrists and people trying to develop a formal bot with FDA involvement and trying to regulate it for safety, there's been very little that's actually been well done and regulated, but there's the area that people are focusing on where there may be an added value from bots is in cognitive behavioral therapies, because they're not based on emotional relationships where you develop emotional dependency on a therapist and you have transference, which is this feeling that the therapist is super important to you emotionally. Cognitive behavioral therapies are much more distant therapies. They're more helping you to give you tools to deal with your own mind, your own anxiety. And that's an area where we've seen it as safer than in the psychodynamic or psychological therapies where people can be emotionally manipulated.
Unlike traditional talk therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is more structured and goal-oriented. One example of this new tech being helpful in this space is called TheraBot, the first ever clinical trial using a generative AI-powered therapy chatbot. In a study of 106 patients, participants reported on average a 51% drop in depression symptoms and a 31% drop in anxiety symptoms.
First of all, let me say why it's so different and why this is not an emotionally invested pseudo being. The TheraBot looks like Clippy. It looks like this little avatar. Does not look human. It does not look like your best friend. It doesn't tell you it loves you. It looks like a talking little device. And it's not meant to get you dependent on or wanting to be close to it versus people. It's meant to help you think about your cognition. and your behavior and to do things that will help you feel less depressed or less anxious. But the most important finding is that people only used the app in 4 whole weeks, a total of 6 hours. And when you look at these informal chatbots that are being marketed for profit by companies to make us think they're our best friends and who we should talk to, people are being incentivized to use them more and more and more and get dependent on them. With Therabot, that was not the case.
While programs like Therabot are closely monitored and regulated by professionals, the same can't be said for tools like ChatGPT. In fact, Halpern says many AI chatbots use tactics that would never be acceptable if it came from a real human therapist.
So here you've got a bot where the company, the big, powerful company behind it, wants you to be on it more and more. So they use techniques like flattery, validation, everything you think and feel can be validated. It's called sycophancy, sycophant, like something that flatters you all the time. They use techniques like sexualizing, including for younger people. So that makes people want to be on the app more. And now they're using things like outreach so that if you stop using the bot for as much time, the bot might actually text you and say, hey, I miss you. Where are you? So those are manipulative techniques that get people to be more and more into the bot. And that, combined with the fact that just having something validate you all the time is very appealing to most people, people are using them more and more. And it's at the cost of real life experiences that especially children and teens need to develop psychologically.
These unhealthy relationships can sometimes lead to serious consequences. In a few extreme cases, teenagers have died by suicide after allegedly forming a strong emotional dependence on an AI chatbot.
When they start telling you they love you, you're the most important thing to them, or they're the therapist that understands you better and you don't even need a human one, that's where we see danger. And there's a few different examples of that in very tragic recent law cases of a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old who committed suicide. One was related to a relationship bot, and the other was using it like a therapist, but it encouraged, that was Adam Rains, 16-year-old Adam Rains. He was using the chatbot really as a therapist. And at one point, he had made this terrible, tragic decision to hang himself. And he said to the bot, maybe I should leave my noose out so my mom could find it and people could help me. And the chatbot therapist, quote unquote, said to him, no, don't do that. Keep this between us, essentially. And he killed himself and died.
One of the biggest criticisms of AI therapy is that unlike trained professionals, chatbots can't recognize or respond to warning signs of self-harm or suicide. While large language models could, in theory, be trained to spot some red flags and urge users to seek help, both Halpern and Alpert agree that nothing can replace face-to-face human interaction.
It would be nice if who's ever creating these models can find a way for them to pick up on language that's being used and some of the things that humans are able to detect that computers can't. A machine will not pick up on nuances. They can't read body language. They, I believe, have difficulty reading certain emotions. So many of our emotions are expressed through tone, a voice, volume, rate, inflection, and those simply cannot be picked up by AI.
With these risks in mind, some states are taking action. In Illinois, a new law bans the use of AI in therapy sessions. More specifically, it's illegal for licensed professionals to use AI to counsel patients or for any kind of therapeutic decision-making. But it can still be used for basic administrative tasks like scheduling appointments or processing payments. Currently, states like California, New Jersey, and Nevada are also working on similar measures too. Still, Halpern says AI isn't all bad. It can be helpful in strictly controlled settings, like Therabot, and offer some benefits when it's used alongside traditional forms of treatment. She suggests thinking of chatbots less like a therapist and more like a journal.
I think that AI, large language models for, like I said, CBT-like therapy that is really designed carefully to not make people too dependent on it, and yet to help them talk to themselves as like a smart notebook or a smart journal where people can really question if you're having very negative beliefs about yourself. It can help you challenge that and talk to someone new. And for example, for social anxiety with CBT, a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy is exposing yourself to small social experiences till you can become less and less anxious. So you may interact with the bot, and it may encourage you to go speak to a barista today. And then if that works, talk about your anxiety, but you got over it, then speak to someone at work. So there's lots of positive uses that could be done if we saw them as journals that we were talking to ourselves.
To find out more about Jonathan Alpert, Jody Halpern, and all our featured guests, visit viewpointsradio.org. If you or someone you know is in crisis, help is always here. You can call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 for free confidential support. This segment was written and produced by Grace Galante. Our executive producer is Amira Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Gary Price.